Well, I finally got that jet edge sander that I've wanted for a while. If you remember back last summer, I had ordered one originally, and they said it would be delivered in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, they told me it would be probably 2 months till they shipped it. So I canceled it at that time. And back on Good Friday, Jet had a 15% off sale with free shipping, so I took advantage of that and actually ordered that same sander again. And this time, about a week ago, I received a notice from Rockler that I had bought it through that the edge sander was back ordered. It would not be shipped till last year, so I really didn't expect to get it right now. But yesterday, the trucking company called me up and said they have a delivery for me. So I'm like, well, gee, that's a big surprise. And here it is. The next day, it's here. It was delivered by a company called Estes, and they do deliver a lot of jet equipment, the driver told me. It was the most friendly driver, just such a nice guy. I've never met a truck driver like this before. The guy was just really just a great guy to meet. So I got the little John Deere out, and I got those pallet forks on, and guy was actually pretty surprised. He thought he was going to have to drop it with the tailgate at the end of the driveway. He said that's the way he does with most of these jet pieces of equipment. And luckily it was the last thing on the truck, right at the back of the truck. So it took all of about 5 minutes to unload it. And there you can see the little forks on that tractor really do help with stuff like this. So it came right out. Package was completely undamaged. There weren't, there was no signs of damage or anything. So that was a good thing. They did handle it really well, from what I could see. And just had to just sign the receipt off, and that basically was it. So you can pretty much see that the last couple of days we've had fairly warm weather, and driveways getting muddy again, and pretty much all the snow is just about gone. By tomorrow it should be gone, because I think tonight it's going to stay over freezing. So it was a good time anyway to have it delivered. Be really easy to get it around to the back. And like I said, this truck driver was really a great guy. He even took the time to call about 20 minutes before he got to the house and let me know that he was on his way and he was 20 minutes out. So, I really think that this is a great trucking company that has high quality employees. Anyhow, it's time to open it up and see exactly what's in the box here. It's I think they said it weighed about 200, or maybe it was 325 pounds with the pallet and stuff on there. And there you can see they really had it strapped down to the pallet, and they had it shrink wrapped to the pallet, and basically it would have been really hard to do anything to this box, so they did protect it well. So now the time to remove everything and start taking a good look inside. Now this is the first piece of large jet equipment that I have purchased, so I really can't wait to see how everything looks inside. Now the box itself was about 49 inches long there, you can see, and it was about a little under 27 inches wide. And it was about, I think, 20 and a half tall. Everything seemed to be packaged really well. He opened it up, and they had some cardboard on there, and then they had the front panels of the lower cabinet, and they had everything, that was cradled really nice in styrofoam, and then there's a shelf for the cabinet that was wrapped in cardboard there, and there's the other side for the cabinet, the back, I mean. Then they had these this big styrofoam insert that really locked in place with the bottom one that was in there. And there you can see manual, and then there was the two sides of the cabinet, and they really were cradled in there nice, and I didn't see any damage or anything whatsoever. There was really no way they could get hurt unless you put a fork through the side of it or something. And then there was some of the miscellaneous hardware kind of thrown down in the bottom there. But I couldn't get at it all. Some of it was buried underneath the sander itself. So basically I had to cut one side out of the box here and just slide the sander off to the side so I could get the box out from under it. Now that main body of the sander itself there is really heavy, so if you do plan on buying one of these things and you have to pick it up on the stand, you're really going to need a minimum of 2 people, because I'm pretty sure it's over 200 pounds. So, I didn't have anybody to help me, so I figured the easiest way would be to just bring it around back with the tractor and actually take all the little parts of the stand downstairs and assemble them first and be ready to just drop this on. Now there it is. I broke away some of that styrofoam and I was able to slide it right back out on that pallet there. Everything was really in excellent condition, and once you pulled that out of the box, there were some more hidden compartments, and all the hardware was just really well packaged. And there you can see it's all down in the shop now. I'm gonna start assembly of the stand. First thing I did was spread out all the parts, and some on the table saw and some over on the bench, and they did include one belt with it, so that'll get me going. And I do have a couple more hanging on the wall that I bought. So the first thing that you have to do, the instructions were really well written and stuff, and it's really simple to assemble. But the first thing you have to do is put these rubber feet in the bottom of the cabinet, and I just brought everything in from outside and it was extremely cold, so I think that the rubber does shrink up considerably when it gets that cold. So I should have probably waited till it warmed up a little bit, but it was a little, you just had to fiddle a little bit to get the things in place, and it was quite stiff, and it was doable, but I would have been better off probably to warm the parts up first. And here you can see this one here was just couldn't even get the screw through the hole. It was so tight. I had to use a little mallet to just kind of tap it in place. So the two sides each get 2 of these feet on the bottom of them to start out with. Then once you get the 4 feet on and all tightened in place here, it's time to start putting the parts together. So there's the front and one of the sides I'm going to start with, and you can see I have them upside down now. They tell you to assemble them on a flat surface upside down like this, just so that you can get everything properly lined up, so that everything comes out nice and square in the end. But I did run into a little bit of an issue. I'll show you in a couple of minutes. But each of the panels attaches to each other with 2 bolts. There's some 2 flat washers, a bolt, lock washer, and a nut that go on each one, and they're really easy to get going and stuff. Everything so far lines up really good. And I found out to hold things together temporarily while I'm getting the hardware started, those little spring clamps really did come in handy. They kept things from falling over while I was trying to get stuff in the holes. Okay, then the other side goes on exactly the same, and there you can see just put a bolt with a flat washer on it, and then just throw another flat washer on and lock washer, and then the nut. And at this point in time, they tell you don't tighten anything down. Then for some reason in the instructions it said to place a shelf in it, which really I should have never placed in at this point in time. Well, at first I put it in like they said, but then the problem was trying to get the back panel in place and get the screws all lined up. See, you really have to turn it upside down to make everything be even because of the rubber feet on the side there. So I kind of laid it on its side, and I had to climb inside there to get the hardware started. But the problem that I ran into was when I turned it upside down like this, that bottom blocked you being able to get at the hardware, and you had to go through this little door to try to tighten it up, which I really didn't fit. So I wound up just pulling that shelf out to have easier access from the top, and then I was able to, tighten everything up. And there it is right there. I was able to go right up through there without the shelf in the bottom and get everything all tightened up and aligned perfectly. And I will say that in the end, everything really did fit together nice. And there it is. Now that I got everything tight, I'm just going to drop that shelf in. So it was easier to wait till the end to put it in. But it's only 2 screws anyway, so it only took about 2 seconds to change. But everything lined up perfectly. There were no problems. The cabinet really did look nice when it was together. And back last summer when I had originally ordered the sander, I ordered an extra one of these Grizzly Bear Crawl bases because they had a really good sale back then. So I had the base there waiting, and it was just time to put the base on the bottom of the machine here. So I just put the machine up on a couple blocks of wood so I could slide the base in and put the front and the back on because the rails didn't have to be cut on those sides. And then the 2 ends I had to just mark the tubing there and shorten it down. And there you can see the base does fit really nice on here, and it actually looks good too. The black goes good with that black stripe on there. And it's got a nice little lock on there, and everything. And I'm going to get a rubber pad to put in there, but it looks like a good place to put stuff. So I went out in the metalworking shop and cut off those 2 pieces of tubing with a cold cut saw there. That makes it, real easy to do with no burning and no real burring or anything. So it cuts real quick too. So that was easy. But it's the only way to make that base actually fit this machine. So there they are. Now that they're cut down, they'll slide right into the 2 halves of the base there and go together. Now when I put the base on, you notice I put like 4 pieces of weather stripping tape there. You can see in those corners there, that orangish color. I just put some tape in there just to kind of pad it so there wouldn't be any vibration from the cabinet hitting the base if I pulled it in. So that gave it a little bit of a cushion, and then I just clamped everything down and went back and tightened up all the bolts there, and you can see it, it was a really easy assembly. And the last thing I do with every new tool that I get is I use this product called Protect All. It's just basically like a kind of a liquid cleaner wax and stuff that I used to use on my motorhome when I had one. It worked really good for, UV and everything else. So it kind of helps it so the sawdust doesn't stick so bad. So I coat everything when I first get it with that. And it was time to drag this assembly outside. And having that base on there really made it a fairly easy job. Once I got around the door. And then out the back door, and a little bit of a problem on the threshold there, but it wasn't that bad. Now it's time to bring that top half of the sander. Actually, you could probably use the sander without a base. You could probably set it right on a bench because it's all self-contained in that top part there. So there again, those little forks for the John Deere really do, they do help out. It's like having an extra 2 people around. Now you can see now, this is the next morning, and the snow is basically completely gone, and the grass has actually started turning green today. Kind of crazy after all the cold weather we've had the last couple weeks. So there it is. I'm just taking the bucket now, and I'm lining it up at the height of the top of the stand there. And I'm just going to slide this right off onto the stand. I put some blanket or a towel on top of the stand to try to, so I wouldn't chip or damage anything. And it did protect it pretty good, and it did help some. And like I said, if you're going to do this by yourself, you can't really do it by yourself. You really need a couple people to pick this up. And now you can kind of get an idea of how it's going to look all together. I was kind of surprised how nice and tall it is, and it's going to be a real nice unit. Now there, I kind of got that out of the way so I could go back and get that towel out of there and then get everything mounted together. Now, to mount this on, to actually secure this to the base, what you have to do is just kind of line it up, and it lined up perfectly with the stand. It was really, they did do a good job at, making everything look good on this. And then you just have to go inside there, and there are 2 longer bolts that they supply you with that just go up there with a couple washers, and they actually lock everything together real nice. Now I see this as one of those tools that's not a tool that's really necessary in the shop, but it's a tool that I think is really going to be nice to have around. So once I got those bolts tightened up, it was a real easy job to just kind of bring it back into the shop. A little bit of how to pull it up a little bit over the threshold there and stuff, and a little hung up on the carpet that was inside there, but eventually it did go, and that's it. Time to put the tractor away, and then just drag this back in there. Those Grizzly bases they do work good. They're really affordable, and they're nice and flat, and they're really sturdy once you lock them down. So now that I'm in the shop, I'm exposing the cast iron table finally, and it does have a protective coating on it, and I find that WD-40 does a pretty good job at removing this coating. So I just put a coat of WD-40 on there, and then I did a little bit of wiping on it there to get what I could in a paper towel, and then I actually went back a couple times. 3 times I went over the table with the WD-40, and I kept going over, and then finally I got down in that slot real good and everything. And there were a couple T-nuts there. They are stuck in the slot there that you have to take out. But in the end, it didn't take very long to clean up, and it's really they did do a beautiful job on the casting and stuff. I've heard things about that jet castings aren't that nice, but they're just as nice as the Grizzly and the Laguna. Now I always put Johnson's paste wax on my cast iron tables when I first get them. So what I did is I wiped down got the WD-40 and stuff off, and then I put on a couple good coats of paste wax. What I'll do is I'll put 1 coat on today, and I'll wipe it down, and then tomorrow I'm gonna do another one, and then the next day I'll do a 3rd coat, and then I'll let it sit for a day or 2 and buff it out real good so there's no residue left on it, and basically then it'll be good for, I usually wait about 6 months till I do it again. So I don't know, I've been using that Johnson's paste wax for years. I don't know if it's the best thing to use, but I've had good luck with it. Now I'm gonna kind of set this back up here, and this is the one thing about this machine that the way it comes from the factory, you have to use a square to square everything up, and then you have to try to reach underneath and clamp it. And I've seen a lot of people on other videos say the same thing. It's kind of a pain, but you can put a stop in there, which in the future I've got some ideas of how to make a nice adjustable 90-degree stop for it that'll make it repeatable without having to fiddle too much. But for right now, I'm just using a square to kind of set it up a little bit there. And then there's a handle that has to go on the top that releases tension on the belt, and that one I couldn't just push on. I had to just use a mallet to push that down. And then they do give you a 100 grit belt with it. Now the only thing you have to make sure of is that there's like arrows inside the belt. You have to look at them and just make sure that it's turning in the right direction. It was really, once I figured out you got to hold it pretty straight going down, it was really pretty easy to put the belt on. And there is if you look in that platen there that the belt rides on, is a graphite platen. And you can see pieces of the graphite just kind of falling off of there and stuff and getting all over everything already. So that's something that you have to clean up later that I found out. It's not something you can just wipe off. It's like trying to wipe off lead. There it is. I got the belt on there, and then there's a bracket that goes on the motor. They give you the 2 screws and the Allen wrench to use to mount it. And that just, you just have to line up the screws and put them on and tighten them. And all that does is that actually holds, there's an auxiliary table that goes up there in case you want to use it as a, kind of like a spindle sander. You can use the radius on the end there with this other table. Oh, there it is. And I didn't clean that off yet, but I'm just showing you how it sits down on there. So, you can use that end of the belt there too if you want to use it as a spindle sander. And then there's another hand knob that goes here. Now you got the belt on. I'm going to put the guard back on, and that just slides in some slots on the back of the machine there. And a couple nice big hand wheels that lock it in place. I did find out that when I tightened it, I didn't pick it up in the slots, and you can see that one guard there hit. So what you have to do is you have to make sure that before you tighten these screws, you push it all the way up to the top of the slot like that. Kind of seems like an afterthought they put the slot in or something, but it's not that hard to do. And then you can see that cover there slides over at the back of it, and then just rolling it around. This is what the front looks like here. And then there's one more shield that goes on there. It looks like if you're doing long stock, like full-size doors and stuff like that, you probably take this shield off. But if you're doing shorter things that are like 30 inches or under, you leave that on there to help with the actual dust collection. And that swings out of the way there too to drop that table in if you want to use the end of the spindle sander. So then there's one more thing. There's like a stop that goes on if you're going to be doing pieces that are, shorter. And that's just another nice hand wheel, and it has a pin that locks in a hole, and the hand wheel, and everything fits together really nice. Then it came with a miter gauge. It's a little short guy, but it's got this really neat feature on it. If you look on the bottom, there's like one of those T-nut type things in there that slides in the machine groove there. And when you turn it and you lock the angle on it, actually locks the miter gauge in the machine, so nothing will go flying off. So you can, set up to do square sanding and stuff like that. And nothing will move, and you don't have to worry about it grabbing and stuff like that. Then, if you're going to do horizontal sanding, there are these T-nuts that slide in there, and they have some knobs on them. And so they just slide in that groove there. And then there's another fence that you can, there it is, that you can put in place. Well, I've got it backwards now, but just showing you how it slides in around those T-nuts, and you just crank it down to hold it. But actually it would be the other way with the belt horizontal, just to give you a straight edge to work off of, I think. And now my dust collector collection is kind of messed up right now, but I'm just hooking it to a port that I had there. I'm going to be redoing this all very soon. And this is my first fire up of it. And belt looked like it was good. Everything was tensioned and tracking right. And you can see it moving up and down about almost a half inch as it runs. I just took a little piece of walnut. It was a rough cut piece of walnut there, just to see how hard it would be to get all the saw marks off of it and stuff. And basically it did a really good job. You just had to touch it a couple times quick, and everything was pretty much perfectly straight and smooth. It really looked like it came out of a joiner, but there were no ripples or anything. There you can see how they just kind of mess with the tracking of it. They rock that one roller there to change the tracking on it, and that's what makes the belt actually cycle up and down. It's a really simple method of doing it, and it looks to be, effective. You can see the whole belt is actually cycling up and down. Now, with this first run, you could kind of see graphite in the air and graphite everywhere. I don't know, you can see little pieces down there and little pieces all over everything, and kind of a little bit of a mess to clean up, but I guess that's just the platen kind of wearing in the beginning. And there's your little black speckles on everything, so you might want to wear a dust mask when you fire these up. So, eventually I'm going to be doing something also for lifting the table, because it just has those knobs here, and I'm probably going to put like a scissor jack or something down in there also. And it did come with a thing that looks like a screwdriver without a tip on it to adjust the belt tension if you have a problem or tracking. And it's real easy to convert to 220, so next thing I'm going to do is pick up a new plug, and I'm going to hook it up to 220. Machines seem to run better on 220. And, I just kind of went back through, and I decided to just kind of check that everything was straight and square across there, and that the table was not twisted and stuff, or the platen was not twisted. And, I put it square on there, and it looked perfect in the 3 spots that I checked it. And then I went back and I took that straight edge that I had, and then this feeler gauge that I have is a 2000s. So I just kind of, set that on the table and went up and down trying to just see how flat it was. And it looks like it's basically pretty flat. Right kind of, right about where my hand is there. You can see the feeler gauge will just barely start sliding in under there, but then right there it stops. So there is approximately just about a 2000s bow in that one section right there where my hand is, which really I think is, it's not bad at all for a piece of woodworking equipment. And like I said, the straight edge could be off a little bit too, but I don't think it really is it from what I've seen so far. And you can see again there, no matter how I shift it or twist it, I'm getting no twist the other way, but I'm still getting that little bit of a drop. Right, starting right there. So I got a little 2000s bow, but I really think that's that's really acceptable. That's actually pretty good for a piece of woodworking machinery. So it looks like, basically everything's good to go on this machine. I don't really see any problems with it or anything right now. And like I said, I'm going to be redoing my dust collection here. And you can see I've kind of got a cyclone on the, one of those cyclone lids on a garbage can for the planer. And the dust collector's got that 3-way Y coming out of it. And I've actually just ordered a new Grizzly Cyclone assembly to go on the front of this dust collector. It's a new one that they make for this unit, and hopefully I'll be getting that soon and get to rework the dust collector, and I'll be making a video about redoing that. Good thing is I finally sold that old Aaron snowblower this week that actually pays for this sander now, so it'll be a Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.